So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question. And Dr. Steve Schlintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schlintz, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. I hope you guys are doing well. It is a Sunday, hot here in Charlotte. It's actually cooler today. It's only 90. Yeah, the humidity here has been insane, and I think it's been that way around the country. So if you are in a hot environment, bear with it. And hopefully you can listen to this in the comfort of your car with some AC on. But you know what I want to talk about in this episode, there's been a lot of things going on for me personally, building out a clinical curriculum with Dan O'Rourke, my business partner, and taking that to dentists that are looking to do more full mouth cases has been incredibly fun, but incredibly stressful at the same time, as you can probably imagine. And being able to do this in a digital learning environment is a game changer. I know when I was learning this stuff, I was traveling all over the country for years on end. I had actually been out of my house. I thought about it 23 times, I think, over the course of 2 years, 2.5 years, learning both the management side and the clinical side. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I talked to a lot of people about this, and you know, one of the common themes was, it's so great that you're doing it so young. And yeah, I get it. There's sacrifices doing it really, really young too. So, you know, you probably don't have the means, the funds necessary. You have to actually finance some of this education, but I knew it was actually absolutely important for me. But, you know, one of the things that I heard over and over again was, you know, when you have kids, the game changes. And so a lot of young dentists, we have children. I don't have kids right now. I have one cat, so I do have the luxury of time. But I know that that is a concern for a lot of younger dentists, which is, I want to develop my practice. Maybe I'm an associate. I'm looking to start a practice, or maybe I have a practice I just purchased and I'm trying to grow it, or maybe I have a startup practice. What skills do I need? What do I need to develop? And, you know, for a lot of dentists, they would love to be able to travel that much and learn, but it's really, really difficult with a young family. I get that. And what happens, unfortunately, is that the dentist will put it off, whether it's, you know, a young female dentist that is, you know, starting a family, and so she feels conflicted because she really wants to go learn how to do the best possible dentistry she can. But in the same respect, she's not going to be able to most likely leave for weekends at a time and leave the kids at home. So, you know, Dan and I are completely aware of that. And we wanted to provide an opportunity for dentists that are willing to learn. They want to learn, and they want the personalized instruction, but they also want to be able to do it without having to leave the comfort of their own home. So that has been tremendously fun and rewarding. And also starting up a program that I had about 2 years ago, and I just didn't have the time to be able to coach the dentist the way I wanted to. Now kind of coming full circle, I've been able to do that, and that's been fantastic. But all of these things have been, you know, time consuming, and then be in my practice a little bit more. So everything's kind of coming to a head all at once, which has been amazing. But that's not the reason I wanted this episode. The reason I wanted to talk about, the thing I wanted to talk about in this episode was I have seen now numerous groups. So I have a fee-for-service practice, and I live and breathe relationship-based dentistry, whether it's LD Pankey or Lynn Carlisle or Mike Schuster or all of these, you know, gurus in the relationship-based space. I think it is so important in today's world of dentistry to know exactly who you are as a dentist and what you do. And there's different models that work. And, you know, some models are catered to certain individuals and some models are catered to other individuals. And I know what I do in my practice is not a fit for everybody. But when I got out of my associateship and I was in a more corporate driven model with a lot more insurance involvement, Medicaid, I knew I could not do that. I just could not do that long term. But I wanted to do the complete opposite, which was really develop relationships with my patients. Now, I learned something as I was going through this. Being just fee for service and say, you know what, I'm not going to take insurance. That sounds great, but in theory, it's actually very difficult to do effectively. On the flip side, if you do it effectively, it is probably one of the most profitable things you can do, and one of the things that you can do to really create almost an economic moat around your practice. And I've had numerous conversations with dentists that, ask me, aren't you concerned that it's going to get more and more difficult for you to stay profitable as a fee-for-service office? I said, no, it's going to get more profitable for me, because the reality is most dentists are going the way of insurance contracts, even in-house membership plans. And I'm not saying I won't have an in-house membership plan at some point, but it's not on the forefront of my mind right now. And the reality is the more practices start to mimic each other and they get larger and they have more groups-oriented practices, my practice being a solo practice, a small relationship-based practice, will actually be in a position to really target a certain segment of the market. So I make no qualms that if I have a new patient, I want a patient that's seeking health and wellness, and they're probably pretty upset with the way they've been treated in dentistry by and large, and they have certain problems or issues that they need addressed that most dentists just don't know how to tackle. That's actually my customer avatar, my patient base, if you will. And so I don't need 30 or 40 new patients a month. In fact, if I get more than about 5 to 10, I'm pretty stretched in my schedule. I really can't actually support that. So, I've talked to dentists as colleagues and friends that have 400 and 500 patients and are doing incredibly well. Now, there's also offices that have 2,000-3,000 patients that are also doing incredibly well. And it really depends on your style and what you want to create. And so I know I've talked about this on past podcast episodes, but I can't stress enough the need for you to define the vision of what kind of practice you want and what resonates with you. I know for me personally, one of the things that has always kind of driven me nuts about dentistry is the running around from room to room thing, and having somebody ask me this question, somebody ask me this question, somebody needs this, somebody needs this, somebody needs this. It makes me feel emotionally very scattered, and I don't like it. And so for me, an ideal practice is based on, one patient at a time, and I might only see 2 patients the entire day. And I'm completely at peace and home with that. That's my in dentistry, that's kind of my home base. That's what I'm trying to shoot for. Because I'm like that, I know that I have to do more full mouth dentistry. I can't do single tooth dentistry. And I know that's not for everybody. In fact, one of the most profitable things you can do is quadrant dentistry, but not necessarily ever do full mouth rehabilitation. Just do quadrants for these patients that are breaking down. And, for some doctors, they're more at home. I can guarantee you there'll be some dentist that would come into my practice and go, oh my gosh, this is all you do? They'd go nuts, right? Because they need more in their life. They need to be busy. They need to be doing this. They need to do implants and then maybe an Invisalign case and then restorative and then an extraction, and they need some variety. For me as a practice and for me as a provider, I like to get in my routine, my comfort zone, the thing that I do the best, and then I want to maximize the profitability on that thing. And then I'm going to take, the time that I'm able to, gain because I'm incredibly profitable in my practice, and then start to pursue other avenues. For me, I love coaching. I love consulting. I love the investment side of things, and I love, putting my money to work and getting passive income. And that's what I'm constantly working on, so that when I'm 40, 45, 50, I don't have to do dentistry anymore in order for me to make a living. I would choose to do as much or as little dentistry as possible, because now I've put myself in a position financially to have that freedom. So for me, it becomes getting really, really good at what it is I do, and then using that skill set to leverage myself into other areas. And so, that's always been at the forefront of my mind. And so I know dentists that love dentistry, and they would do it all day for the rest of their life. And that's fantastic. And you should do that. But if you're a dentist that's thinking, well, how do I get out of this? The reality is there's an inherent flawed model that is dentistry as a solo provider. And that is, if you do it just the bread and butter way and you do it like everybody else, the reality is you're probably not going to be able to get out of that chair for a long, long time. And it's only going to get worse. So you have to get very, very crystal clear on what you're trying to create. Whether you're in a large multi-doctor practice, a corporate office, a solo provider, relationship-based practice, whatever it looks like to you, define it and get really crystal clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it. And then think about, what do I do beyond this? What do I really ultimately want to be doing? And how do I leverage this skill set to move into other fields? And that vision of where you're going, writing down your goals, something as simple as writing down your goal. What's your income goal? What is your relationships? What do you want your personal goals to be? How do you want to, be with your family? Do you want to be stressed out every day? Or do you want to be able to take more vacation time? Do you want to have a practice that's more representative of you? I'm actually speaking at Dentistry's Got Talent, and my topic is going to be building an authentically branded practice. I feel like there's so much out there right now that just isn't authentic. It's very window dressing and superficial, and I don't think it actually works. And so if you're trying to build a fee-for-service practice, it needs to be authentic. You need to know who you are as a provider. And you need to know what you do well and what you don't do well. And you need to be able to have open and upfront discussions with your patients. And if you can't, it's probably not going to work very well. And, that's one of the things that I really try to focus on is I don't, for lack of a better term, I don't BS with my patients. I tell them why we exist and why we do the things we do. And I'm the first to tell them, listen, I don't think we're the fit for you. But let me talk to, let me give you some great recommendations for the dentist that I think would be right in your wheelhouse. That's not good or bad. It just is. And I think having that discussion up front, patients appreciate that. And I don't want to have a patient in my practice that isn't a good fit. It doesn't work well. So be crystal clear and be authentic on what you want to create and why you want to create it. And the more clear and the more clarity you get with that, the more you can communicate with your team, the more you can communicate with your patients, and the more profitable you will become. I know that sounds insane. We all want to develop our skills. We all want to develop clinically. We all want to develop as a leader and with the team, and that's important. But it's more important to get really crystal clear on what you want and why you want it first, because that will dictate what you do clinically. That will dictate what kind of training you get. That will dictate how you treat your patients. Like, all of those things are very, very important. So, hopefully you got some value out of this. As always, what I would love for you to do is go to dentalpracticefreedomradio.com. There's a case acceptance master pack just as my thank you for tuning in. And I love, love, love getting emails from you guys. I'm getting emails. If you send an email to admin, ADMIN, at mountainskycoaching.com, just let me know what you enjoy about the podcast, what you want me to talk about. At some point, I will start to do some interviews with other people. I'm getting to that level. This is episode number 40, which is insane. We have almost 3,000 downloads. It's taken a while, but we're getting there, which is just awesome. So I thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble on. It really does mean the world to me, and hopefully you guys can listen to these in short, bite-sized chunks and get some value out of them and really get you thinking about what kind of practice you want to be creating. And I'm here to help you any way I can. You guys take care and have a great week.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlitz. We'll see you on the next episode.